Otherwise, you are just saying it's not your fault, it's the player's fault, and publicly blaming them without any management.
We're not going to talk about that.
About what flat means?
Well,
because if you're a
he's
player,
not wrong. The players are to blame.
Sure, because they're bad, though. They're not as good as the other teams. But when you're saying you're calling out professionalism, they're flat. Well, what is that? What are you mad about? Are you mad that they're bad? Or are you mad that they're not putting in the work? That they're making bad decisions? They're not listening to scouting reports? And obviously he's not saying it internally either, because the players don't seem to know.
The players seem genuinely surprised at his approach to it.
Yeah, I hate the term. I hate it. I hate it.
I don't hate the term
Flat.
as long as you explain what the term is.
It bothers me. It's like you're not grindy enough.
And when he was given ample opportunity, the Dutchman wrote this, he didn't give an answer.
He must.
He didn't want to then. My thing is, if you've already walked out onto that plank where you've decided that you're going to call the players out, then you got to go a little bit farther than they were bleeping flat. You had time to cool off after the game. You did that with intention.
And then you say, I'm going to double down on that. Who says that? Who said, what? That you talk about not the lack of self-awareness?
Well, it's been a problem for him since he got the job.
He pauses and goes, I'm going to double down on that. You're not playing cards. If a headline says you double down on it, maybe you did go on and explain what it means. You don't announce that you're doubling down. It's just dumb. It's dumb.
What I thought when I saw the quote, I was like, does he mean also Sunday's game? And then I'm like, no, he's still talking about Saturday's. He's a strange duck, man. He's really a strange dude. And I feel like he's like, I've had enough now, so let me just say wacky stuff, and I'm going to get up out of here.
Why would they why? To put La Russa in there?
Maybe.
Huh?
Maybe Tony's feeling well enough that he could go in there and do it. It's disappointing that, one, that the hire was made, and two, what's happened since. Pedro Grifol, he hasn't gotten better at his job. He's not a better manager now than he was when he walked in the door. And it doesn't seem like he really wants to be either. The one thing that he had going for him was he was staying on message with the clubhouse. And now you're not even on message with the guys in your clubhouse.
No, we just flushed that one. We got to just flush that one.
And
now
look,
it's like they're effing flat.
Look.
That guy was shoving, man.
Look, I get it. I'm sure that there is a ton of frustration from everyone who is working at 35th and Shields. I'm sure of it.
Even the ticket salespeople calling you?
Yeah, they're real frustrated. I still might buy a box, though. We'll see. People like to go to games, Dan. What can I tell you?
I was at the game Friday.
See?
I complained a lot, but I was there.
Yeah, you did.
Because I was mad because they delayed the game like 40 minutes and it didn't rain at all in that delay. And then it rained during the game. I was like, oh, you know how this could have been avoided? Start the damn game on time.
It's a signature Roger Bosser feel. I just think that there's so much bad over there that it can be overwhelming. So sometimes your emotions might take over you. But I also think that he's just been sitting there watching. This is historically bad. Dan, we are at Memorial Day, and the White Sox are 25 games below 500. That is impressively bad. So I get like frustration boils over. The problem is that you could here. I don't think that he's good at managing anything. Here's how you could have managed that situation. You could have had your moment where you let the players know how you felt and put them on blast publicly. You could have had that moment, and then you could have had your say with the guys in the clubhouse. Like, this is why I said what I said. you're not doing blank, you're not doing blank, you're not doing this, you're off doing this. And then you could have come back the next day and said, you know what? I was frustrated. You know, the guys are working as hard as they can. We've talked about the places we can get better. We're gonna work on that. But that came from a place of frustration. No, he doesn't just double down, as you said. But he announces
that he's doubling down. That's like the texter 847 says the equivalent of someone saying, "I declare bankruptcy."
Yes.
No, I'm doubling down. Like, if I'm a reporter, I'm like, whoa. Like, does anybody on the beat ever stop Pedro and say, "Wait, what are you talking about?"
I think it's pretty clear that they did.
We used to do.
I declare bankruptcy.
If you read Van Schouwen today, he makes it pretty clear that they were like, "Hey, Pedro, what do you mean when you say they were bleeping flat?" And there's no answer.
As someone who covered Terry Bevington, as someone who sat nose to nose with Terry Bevington after games while he was guzzling his Miller Lights and belching through his nose after every answer, I can tell you how unpleasant that was. But we always would try to understand what he meant by things. And more often than not, we would leave that room and realize he had no idea what he meant by much of what he said.
Yeah.
He was just regurgitating baseball things that he thought managers were supposed to say. And when you applied scrutiny to them and you actually applied rigor, he didn't know what to say.
I don't think that the current manager of the White Sox is as likable of a person as Terry Bevington.
Terry Bevington was not particularly likable.
I didn't have a problem with him.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with him either. I just didn't think he was particularly likable.
I think Terry Bevington was lovable, but a clown. I think that the guy who's managing the White Sox now is a clown and also not lovable or likable to us, not to his family. Like, his family loves him. There's nothing wrong with that.
First we know.
No, he seems to, that seems to be a thing. I don't want to make it seem like he's not lovable to a person.
What does it say on the wall at City News?
Check it out.
If your mother says she loves you, check it out.
I think that he is looking for a one-way ticket out of town as quickly as he can get it so he can go back and he can be somebody's roving instructor or someone's bench coach.
Perfect.
Or whatever. But I don't think that he wants to watch this anymore.
He'd be great as a roving instructor and you never know where he is. That would be ideal.
Where's Pedro?
Sort of like, do you remember the movie Dave?
Yes.
Do you remember the Ben Kingsley?
I don't remember scenes.
Ben Kingsley as the vice president?
Yes.
They introduced him at the beginning. And then it was spoiler alert, he matters again at the end. But he was never anywhere, really. Never really doing anything. That's the...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry. I've spoiled the movie Dave for you. But that's how I picture the perfect job for Pedro.
Is that Fortinbras, right? Isn't that what happens with Fortinbras? We meet Fortinbras at the beginning of the play. Yes. He goes, and then he comes back, and then he is king.
Correct.
Where's Fortinbras been? He's been fighting somewhere.
Yeah, well, because the Norwegian army was the big worry from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then he's like, oh, there's Fortinbras, and then all hail Fortinbras. Oh, that's an interesting way for
everybody else is dead.
No, I get it.
That's why. Like he walks, he's like, "Hey, how's Denmark?" Ooh,
no,
not great.
I guess I'm king now.
Well, I guess I'll be king of Denmark. Boy, you guys have had some fun since I was gone. Yow.
Yeah. I just think that he's had enough. And
Denmark bad.
But here's the thing. There's a part of me that doesn't want to let him out.
Too easy?
Yeah, too easy.
You're going to see this thing through.
No, Pete. Yeah, that's right, Pedro. Yep. This is you, man. This is what you wanted. This is, you talked about how great the clubhouse was last year.
Kick your ass at 7:00.
Until they fired Rick and Kenny. And then you were like, well, this clubhouse is really bad. It wasn't really great. No,
we're going to work every day as hard as we can possibly can to kick your ass at 7:10.
Most
of the guys were flat.
that would make me a masochist, right? Me wishing it on him, and sadist would mean I'm wishing it on myself.
Opposite.
Okay. The sadist in me wants him to have to live in that misery to the end of the season. Like, no parachute for you. You're going to have to manage this club that you've now called out publicly. And they're just kind of like, wait, Studs, we have the Nicky Lopez, right? Let's hear from Nicky Lopez on this thing.
Listen carefully.
I don't think it was more of, obviously we're all going out there and competing, and we want to get the job done as professionals. But sometimes it can be looked at as coming up flat. We didn't get a hit for the first 8 innings. It was kind of dead in the dugout because, there was really nothing to get up for. We lost a couple close games to them where I think we battled pretty good early in the season or early in the series, and then we got it shoved to us pretty good. Bradish was on. He was throwing a 3-4 pitch mix, and I think that's kind of what it was.
Nicky, you've been around a while. Is this just the manager's job to occasionally, the old term was, clear the spread and just, fire people up and pick different ways to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I just think every manager has a different way of doing things. I've never been a manager before, so I know that's a seat where I haven't been, and I can't really speak on that. As players, we come in here to do a job and to go out there and give the best effort we can. So I can't really speak on that, but I just know that I've been fortunate enough to be in this league for 5 years now. I've had 4 different managers, and all of them are different. So the way that they handle things, it's obviously going to be different. And so if that answers your question, I don't know, but every manager's different.
Oh, it answers it. That is from your bartender, Nicky Lopez, a very dry, strong martini.
I think that he's trying to be diplomatic, but also probably just looking for some answers. What do you mean flat?
That's all he's asking. When you say that, it's such a loaded, stupid term. It's selfish, it's stupid, it's facile, it's loaded. And then to say, I'm doubling down on that. I'm doubling down on that. What? Why are you acting like this? It's okay. If he, it's one thing to actually double down and to say, if Pedro were to say, I believe that, and then say, here's what I mean. Here's what disappointed me. When I use the term flat, I mean our approach didn't change. I don't think we learned from one at bat to the next against the same pitcher, despite what we were trying to. I want our players talking on the bench. I want more energy. I want them sharing more information, and I want them supporting each other. I want them on the top step of the there are ways to say it. And you're not necessarily naming individuals. You leave every individual feeling wronged when it's possible nobody really did anything wrong. So you can, but then to say, it's just stupid. I'm doubling down. Come on, man. Just say, I felt that way. I still feel that way. Here's why, and here's what I meant. That would be a way of doing it that makes sense, that is reasonable, that doesn't come off as dumb. That's all.
But that's not his way.
But he could do,
it's not his way.
Just be honest.
That's
and real.
Also not his way. That's what we've learned. When he came in here, I was really excited because the approach that he seemed to be taking to the White Sox was a very forensic one. We've seen what the White Sox as an organization have been like. We want to try and change it. Now, there's nothing he can do about the personnel. He doesn't have that type of power. They were bad decisions that were made by Rick Hahn and Chris Getz to put him in the position that he's in. That doesn't mean that he can't be the best version of himself. And I don't think that we've seen that since spring training last year. I don't think that we've seen him come close. I feel like he's done a lot of stuff where he's been weaselly. I think that he speaks in jargon.
I also think he's speaking to be heard by the owner, and that comes off as oily.
Yeah.
It comes as super oily and scared. He even said it. We owe it to our owner. Like, that gives away the game a little bit there. Ew. Like, that's who says that?
I also think that he has been paying fealty to Tony La Russa, and that La Russa has been in his ear. And that's part of the.
I mean, is that really a question?
So what does La Russa want to do? Carry a fungo bat around? And like what Bruce said, even when he said clear the spread, he's not talking about gambling. He means flip over the post-game meal.
Kenny
used to do that.
Yeah. Used to come down every now and again.
And every once in a while, you take the table, you flip the table over. Here go your chicken strips. And that would be like, you got to play better. I'm so mad I'll waste all this food. You know? And then Coop would come in and eat it off the floor.
That's not true.
Well, it's probably.
I mean, you don't know that.
No, I do know he would eat the. It's based.
Just stop.
It's based on.
You should probably stop.
Okay, probably.